Welcome back into Talking Fitchburg. Joining me today is your finance director, Misty Dodge, back for the annual real estate property tax bill breakdown. We need like a song or something at this point. You're like, no, we don't. How you doing, Misty?
Good. How are you?
I'm all choked up and ready to go. We're going to get right into this because there's a lot of information we want to make sure you learn about. So if you have your property tax bill, pull it out right now. We're going to start with number one, the bill number. Why is this important?
So every parcel in the city has a parcel number, but it's a much longer number. And so when we do tax bills, every bill is provided a bill number too. It's just a shorter number to identify which bill you're paying. The big thing to keep in mind, though, is that that bill number changes every year. So we would appreciate if on their check, people would put that bill number in the memo line for us, but just make sure you're using the right year and the right bill numbers. We just want to make sure the payment gets to the right spot.
Good to know that it changes every year. Don't want to get caught on that one. All right, number two is the total assessed value. What does that mean?
So the assessed value is how the property taxes in total that the city needs to collect to fund the budget of the city, the school district, the county, and the MATC. All of that money that needs to be collected to fund those budgets is allocated to the individual parcels based on their assessed value. So the assessed value that is assigned to each one of the parcels is included on your tax bill in that box right there.
All right, fantastic. We move on to the average assessment ratio. Sounds pretty confusing, but it's not.
It's not terrible. So the assessed value is determined by the city assessor here at the city of Fitchburg and is done property by property. The equalized value is set by the state and it's in total. So it's one big number. They don't look at property by property. And we use the relationship between those, the individual numbers, the total of all the individual numbers from the city as compared to the total number from the state to get a ratio to see how close our assessments are to what the quote-unquote market would be. And that ratio is listed here as well.
Leads us right into the total estimate of fair market value, which is what you would hear from an assessor, like it's fair market value.
Yep. So we take that assessed value, multiply it by the ratio to get an estimated fair market value. Again, the state, the equalized value, is just a big number. It's not parcel by parcel. So this isn't a perfect calculation, but it is at least a ballpark for people to have an idea on what their fair market value might be for their property.
All right. Then we move on to net assessed value rate.
Yeah, this is the tax rate. People call it the mill rate as well. This number here, you would just multiply by your assessed value. A lot of times we also speak in terms of a mill rate, which is a rate per $1,000 in value. So this 0.01712, which is for a Madison School District property, you can also think of it as $17.12 per $1,000 of assessed value. That's the amount that we charge based on the assessed value to figure out how much that property needs to pay in the taxes.
Where do we move on to next?
Yeah, so then you take those two, so the assessed value, which is in box 2, multiply it by the rate in box 5, and that's where you get that tax amount for 2024 on this example bill of the $7,445.65.
Wowza. A lot of information there. All right, so do we move into the increase from prior years next?
Yeah, so there's so much information on this tax bill. One of the things that I really like to point people to is the amount by jurisdiction. Because even though property taxes for the first installment are paid to the city of Fitchburg, it's only about a third of the tax bill that actually goes to fund city of Fitchburg functions. An amount goes to Dane County, the school district, and MATC also. And so you can see on this tax bill last year's tax by jurisdiction, this year's tax by jurisdiction, and then what that percentage changes. So you can see in this example, Dane County went out 4.1, City of Fitchburg went out 3.4, etc. So you can see by jurisdiction.
Yeah, I think it's good to know. And a side note here, you're just the collector of everybody. So it's even though these jurisdictions are good, that money is going to be divided and sent to those jurisdictions. You just happen to be by statute that you guys have to collect the tax bill, up until the 31st of January.
So it's not necessarily statute. The Fitchburg and most municipalities choose to collect the first installment, but we do send that second installment to Dane County and they handle the collection. But yes, the bulk of the bill is perceived as being collected by the city, even though a smaller portion of it is actually retained by the city for our budget.
I think it's unique to understand that if you want to understand the different jurisdictions and what that change you're talking about there. Yeah. The first dollar credit.
Yeah, so I'd like to talk about these two credits together, if I may.
You shall.
So we came up with what the tax amount is, and there are two credits that are available on your tax bill. The first dollar credit, which is that number 7, and then lottery credit, which would be number 8. So the first dollar credit is applied automatically to any property that has a improvements value. So that is just put on there automatically. Don't have to think about it, it's just done. The other one, though, the lottery credit, this one is a form or a certification that needs to be provided by the property owner before it is put on the tax bill. And that's because it's a unique credit. It doesn't go to everybody. It's only if the property is used as your primary residence. And so it's important that everybody looks at that line right there, and you'll see this one doesn't have a lottery credit. Make sure you look if this was your primary residence and that spot is blank like this. Come talk to us. We can get you the form that you need to fill out.
Super easy to fill out, by the way.
Super easy. I mean, it's good. I happen to know for this particular tax bill, it's not a primary residence, so it's appropriate that there's no lottery credit. But that's why people have to certify to us, because we can't assume that all homes are your primary.
Gotcha. All right, moving on. Next one is your trash. So it says trash PU, which is really still funny to me, just saying. You've never noticed, have you?
No, I haven't.
Uh-huh.
That's true. Trash can get stinky. It does also include recycling, so hopefully that's not as stinky. So this is the trash special charge. The $232 is per unit. So if you have a duplex, you'll have double that amount on there. This is put on all of the homes automatically because it is a service that's provided, and then it includes garbage and recycling that's done by Pelletary, as well as brush pickup that's done by the city, and some other costs there. That's a special charge. It's not technically a tax. And I'll also mention that was held flat. So the $232 was the same charge that we charged last year for that service. The reason why it was able to stay flat is there were some changes in the service, and I know Public Works has sent out some information to people letting them know what those changes or tweaks to service was.
In fact, we got a new video coming out in the new year explaining what the new updates to your trash recycling, brush collection, and yard waste pickup. So you'll be watching for that as it comes soon. Ha! All comes together full circle. Isn't that awesome? All right, after the 31st, second installment payments need to be made to Dane County. Why?
Correct. So City of Fitchburg only collects through January 31st. After that, we turn it over to the county, and they do the collection. Both of us end up settling with all of the different jurisdictions, so we make sure the money ultimately gets to the right place, but just who's responsible for that collecting changes. Most of our properties are eligible for installments, so you can see this bill has you could pay it in full right away before January 31st, or you could pay just the first installment by the 31st, and then it lists on what that second installment would be. The big thing to keep in mind is that make sure you at least hit that first installment number by the 31st, and then make sure you hit that final number by July 31st. If you don't hit those benchmarks, there's a pretty significant interest and penalty applied to it. And we can collect payments however you want. Like you could pay 5 different installments if you wanted to, as long as you hit those benchmarks.
Lots of visits to the finance department.
Happy
What
to
could be more
help.
fun?
Mm-hmm.
Taxing jurisdiction is the next area we go to. What does this mean?
Yeah, this is a section that was added to the tax bill probably 12 years ago now, but I still like to think it was recent. So these are where non-recurring referendums would be included. So all of our school districts, Madison, Verona, Oregon, all have a non-recurring referendum that is currently active. So all of our bills have some information in this section. So here for the Madison Metro School District, you can see the total amount of additional taxes that was collected because of the referendum. And then the thing I love is how much of this exact bill is to pay for that referendum. So this particular bill is $201 is going towards that referendum, and that will end in 2042. I would like to point out, though, too, that this is just the non-recurring ones. So if there were referendums for staffing or operational costs, those won't show up here.
Sort of your one-off.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. Just to let you know when they go away.
Yeah, no, that's good to know. And finally, the billing address. Super important one here.
Yes. So the city cannot change the owner or the property address, but we can change your billing address. So if you would like us to send your bill somewhere else, whether that's the escrow company or if you vacation in the winter in a different state and you want your tax bill to go there instead, we're happy to change your billing address. Give us a call, send us an email, or you could check this box on the stub and we'll make sure to get that billing address updated.
Man, I appreciate you breaking this down in each and every year. If you do have questions on any of these things, there was an insert that was included with your tax bill that has some of those questions, but you can always ask. And your staff are second to none for answering those questions.
Absolutely. We love to hear questions. Make sure people understand. This is an important process and want to make sure people know where their money is going, how it's calculated, and how it's spent.
Misty, appreciate your time.
Of course. Thank you.